Hello everyone. Myself Smruti Vadher. My today's topic for the presentation on Indian English literature post-independence is 30 jars, 30 chapters, and the pickle metaphor in Rushdie's Midnight Children. So these are my academic information and research question. So my research question asks how does Salman Rushdie employ the pickle metaphor as both a structural device and a thematic framework to explore memory, narrative preservation, and post-colonial Indian identity. I argue that the exact correspondence the 30 pickle jars equals the 30 chapters is not coincidental but makes the act of preservation itself the narrative's central subject and operating on structural epistemological and political levels simultaneously. So the hypothesis asserts that this one-to-one correspondence represents Rushdie's metafictional argument that historical preservation necessarily transforms its source material, and this transformation, far from being a failure of accuracy, constitutes a more authentic engagement with truth than objective historiography claims to offer. And as Lilian Rufberak supports this reading, noting that the 30 jars represent the 30 chapters of the novel. However, I challenge Rushdie's celebration when we consider gender politics, while he romanticizes pickling as creative part, women like Mary and Padma perform actual preservation labor and other things. Yet they receive subordinate narrative authority. The metaphor brilliantly addresses that national politics, but fails on the act of gender dynamics. So, introduction. First of all, historical background. Midnight's Children emerges from India's traumatic post-colonial history, the 1947 partition and partition that caused millions of deaths and displaced tens of millions of people, and the emergency period of 1975 to 77, when Indira Gandhi's regime implemented forced sterilizations, where, as Rushdie writes, testicles were removed from sex and wombs vanished forever. So the protagonist, Salim Sinai, born at the precise instance of India's arrival at independence, confronts what Rushdie calls a national amnesia. So today we are already forgetting, sinking willingly into the insidious clouds of amnesia. But I remember working in a pickle factory. Salim discovers that memory as well as fruit is being saved from the corruption of the clocks, producing exactly 30 jars corresponding to 30 chapters in a radical innovation where form becomes content. So, Rushdie and Midnight's Children. Rushdie was born in June 1947, just 2 months before independence, to a Muslim family in Bombay. He writes from a migrant position in Britain, embodying the hybridity the novel explores. Midnight's Children won the Booker Prize and later Booker of Bookers, best in 40 years, as that it got prize. So the structure of it, Salim switched at birth with Shiva, possesses telepathic connecting 1001 Midnight's Children, his life, paralleling India's history at 30, working in the pickle factory. His body racing the cracks. He writes for Padma. 30 chapters equal 30 jars, and in the end, one remains empty. As Sayedova notes, by transgressing boundaries between history and fiction, Rushdie reveals nationalism's reliance on discursive construction of history. So, structural parallel. Uh, Salim states, I have pickled 30 chapters in words and in pictures in one more day. I will be 31. So later, 30 jars stand upon a shelf, waiting to be unleashed upon the amnesiac nation. The math is exact. 30 chapters equal 30 jars, and one empty 31st jar represents the unpickable future of Salim Sinai, or we can see in the end of his son Adam. So noticing this dual process, by day Salim supervises production, where he includes memories, dreams, and ideas in mass production. And by night, he writes, my chutneys and kasundis are connected to my nocturnal scribbling. I spent my time at the great work of preserving. Sorry. So this creates what Lillian calls a metafictional function. Form doesn't just represent content; it enacts content. So transformation is preservation. Arundhati Roy, in her novel, and as Ananya Shankar notes that point, that a mango pickle, though made from mango, tastes nothing like the fruit, but preservation makes changes to it. What goes into the recipe? 4 ingredients: memories, but only scraps with the remaining shreds of the past, lingering in ransacked memory for vaults like broken bottles on a beach, dreams that feel that feel gaps left by failing memory, and ideas providing interpretive frameworks, and his special nasal powers of Salim, including intangibles. So the art, as Rushdie writes, is to change the flavor to a degree, not in kind, to give it shape and form. That is to say, meaning. So the transformation isn't failure, but the transformation isn't failure, but it is the condition of preservation itself. The pickled mango does not equal fresh mango, yet both are authentically mango derived. Similarly, preserved memory doesn't equal original experiences, yet both are authentically historical. So, memory is truth versus historical truth. Salim admits errors throughout. Gandhi's assassination occurs on the wrong date in the novel, but I cannot say now what the actual sequence might have been in India. Gandhi will continue to die at the wrong time. He confesses, I'm prepared to rewrite everything purely in order to place myself in a central role, and racing the cracks, the risks of unreliability grows. But here is Rushdie's radical epistemological claim that memory's truth selects, eliminates, and alters, exaggerates, but in the end, it creates its own reality, and no sane human being ever trusts someone else's version more than that his own. So all history is selective and interpretive, we can say, and objective history denies this, making it dishonest. As Salim observes, in a country where truth is what it is instructed to be, really quite literally ceases to exist. In case of that, Rushdie is noting on My India, a version and no more than one version of all the hundreds of million. No single authoritative history exists. So form contains chaos. The perforated sheet, as Mansi mentioned, perforated sheet's motif represents a fragmented vision of, as Dr. Aziz falls in love in fragments through a hole in a perforated sheet, and symbolizing India's post-partition scene only in pieces. Salim in asks that is this an Indian disease? This urge to encapsulate the whole of reality. So that we can say that one cannot capture totality and must find the whole in a small part. So the jar provides a necessary form to give it shape and form, and that is to say meaning. Without containers, without containers, memory remains unpreservable or can be removed from history. Padma as the reader in the recipe. So Salim describes an triangle with three equal elements: himself as creator, memory as source material, and Padma as listener, representing the present. Padma bullies him back into a linear narrative and provides grounding. When she leaves, his creative flow stops completely, and the readers are not passive receivers; they are co-creators in that case. And preservation requires present-day context to activate the past. Personal national history personal and national history linking together. So Salim's birth coincides with independence. At the precise instant of India's arrival at independence, I tumbled forth into the world. So as a critic writes that you are the mirror of your own. Salim believes Salim believes that history targets him personally, and the Indo-Pakistani War's hidden purpose was the elimination of benighted family, and the emergency's deepest motive was the smashing of the children of midnight. Rushdie creates hypendent connections as I linked to history both literary and metaphorically, both actively and passively, actively and literally, passively metaphorically, actively metaphorically, and passively literally. So link ingredients in a pickle jar. Cucumber affects brine, and brine affects cucumber. Like that, personal and national histories marinate together until inseparable. So against national amnesia. What must be remembered? Emergencies were horrors as shown in Midnight's Children, targeted and sterilized lost powers, literal genocide of diversity. But by 1980, Gandhi returned to power and the nation forgot it. So today we are already forgetting, but if we search, we came to know that what happened and how it happened. As Salman Rushdie has preserved that memory in this text. so we can get that what happened exactly. Pickle versus partition. So partition separate by religion, which produced violence and ongoing conflict. Martin Jones reads Rushdie's message as it's a tool who thinks that the world can be brought together by dividing it up. Pickle logic offers the alternative of it as multiple ingredients in a same jar marinating together. Flavors blend, but ingredients remain distinct. And, unity through mixture, not separation. Midnight Children becomes a massive jar of pickle where diverse elements coexist. The baby swap reinforces this as Salim and Shiva switched at birth. Rushdie clarifies as swapping did not imply ancestry was lost, but Shiva's grandfather is Salim's grandfather, subtly portrays secularism. So gendered politics of preservation. Uh, Mary runs the factory, creates recipes, and does all the preservation work. Salim just supervises and claims credit, gains narrative authority. Shankar notes in her article that chutney making framed as act of love, but it's also an unpaid labor. And Padma performs a physical factory labor plus emotional labor of listening, enabling Salim's creation, yet receives no authorial credit. The empty jar. So, why only 30? I have pickled 30 chapters in one more day. I will be 31. 30 jars stand upon a shelf. This is the statement of Salim, as he will be the 31. He can be the 31st any day. And so Salim's body cracking will become 600 million pieces absorbed back into masses. Individual narrative ends and national story continues. This creates a generational transmission. Salim's son Adam inherits 30 jars. Each generation inherits previous generations' preserved history. Uh, uh, then there opens and interprets and passes it forward by preserving it more. And the conclusion. So to conclude, Rushdie's pickle metaphor operates structurally as 30 jars equal 30 chapters, creating metafictional unity, and epistemologically preservation requires transformation and memory, and creates its own reality, so more honest than objective history. So politically, it counters partition's logic by modeling mixture over separation. However, the metaphor contains a critical blind spot while challenging state power. It inadequately addresses gendered dynamics, romanticizing preservation labor performed by women who receive subordinate narrative authority. The empty 31st jar acknowledges the future cannot be preserved and cannot be known, and it invites the readers as active participants who must question not only what gets preserved, but who controls the means of preservation. So why does this matter? This matters to literary studies, demonstrating a structural metaphor as form, content, unity, and metafiction's political engagement. To memory and trauma studies, showing memory's creative function and how literature preserves what state erased. to post-colonial politics, critiquing nationalist historiography, and validating the hybrid identity. So my learning outcomes, what did this study teach me? So I would say that I learned to analyze a structural metaphor as architectural element, not as decoration. And I gained ability to evaluate epistemological claims and distinguishing honest subjectivity from false objectivity. And I developed the skills synthesizing multiple theoretical frameworks, post-colonial, post-modernism, or and feminist together. And I learned to critique power dynamics, whose labor enables and whose authority. So most importantly, I reflected on my own inherited histories. What will I preserve and preserve forward, and how will I transform it, and whose labor will be in that transformation and preservation possible. So the empty jar reminds me that each generation inherits, interprets, and passes forward preserved histories. So these are my references, and thank you everyone. I'll be happy to have your questions.
Smruti, my question for you, what's the gender problem with the pickle metaphor?
The gender problem, as I mentioned, that in novel we see that uh, uh, Mary and Padma, women's like Mary and Padma and mother of Salim, does the actual preservation work or cooking work and giving them emotional support and everything. But in if we see in narrative, that authority goes to Salim and only to the male characters of the novel. And uh, uh, that's why the Rushdie has inserted this narrative in novel, and that gives us the gender, the idea of gender problem in the novel. So that's it.
So my question is, why does Rushdie call India amnesiac?
We can say that in India, we had so many traumatic events like emergency, violence, riots, then pandemics and demonetization and etc. Those traumatic experiences got erased through timeline, and that sometimes we see people that they deliberately choose to erase that and remove that type of events from their memories to avoid the pain it caused, and to avoid the pain the memory will bring them again. And so in novel, Rushdie shows us that uh, the pickle jars becomes the preservation uh, of the events what our nation has tried to erase, and that's why he calls India amnesia. So thank you. That's from my side.